Have you ever wondered what it would be like to save a life? To be the one person who makes all the difference in the world to someone else. This is the story of Emily Carter, and how a chance encounter on a lonely road changed everything. The sun was just beginning to set when Emily Carter drove down the narrow road that led out of town. She had taken this route dozens of times, usually on her way home from work, but today something caught her eye. At first, she thought it was nothing more than a bundle of rags tied to a post at the edge of a field. But then, as her headlights swept across it, the bundle moved. Emily slowed her car, her heart tightening. She pulled over onto the dirt shoulder and stepped out, gravel crunching under her shoes. The evening air was cool, carrying the scent of hay and damp soil. And then she heard a faint whimper. Her chest tightened. She approached slowly, crouching down as she drew near. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Tied tightly to a wooden post with a heavy chain was a small golden retriever puppy. Its golden fur was matted with dirt, and cruelly, someone had tied a strip of chain around its head like a blindfold. The metal pressed against the puppy's eyes, digging into its skin, shook with exhaustion and fear, its tiny chest heaving with each shallow breath. "Oh, sweetheart," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. The puppy flinched at the sound, whimpering again. Emily reached out slowly, speaking softly, as if to reassure it. "It's okay, baby. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The chain clinked harshly when she touched it. It had been fastened tightly, and the poor puppy's fur was rubbed raw beneath the collar. Emily's hands trembled as she fumbled with the knots and rusted links, her mind racing. Who could have done this? It took her nearly 10 minutes, but finally the last knot gave way. With one final pull, the chain fell free. The blindfold clattered onto the dirt. The puppy blinked rapidly, eyes red and watery, but finally free to see. For a moment, it just stared at Emily, its tiny body frozen with uncertainty. Then, hesitantly, it wagged its tail. Emily felt hot tears spill down her cheeks. She scooped the puppy into her arms, cradling it against her chest. "You're safe now," she whispered. "I've got you. You're safe." Emily drove straight to the nearest 24-hour veterinary clinic. The puppy was so quiet in her lap, his head resting against her arm, as though he no longer had the strength to hold it up. The vet on duty, Dr. Michael Hayes, took one look and shook his head with disbelief. "About 10 weeks old," Dr. Hayes said after examining the pup. "Malnourished, dehydrated, and traumatized, but he's lucky. No broken bones, no permanent damage to the eyes. With proper care, he'll recover." Emily exhaled a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Relief washed over her, followed immediately by resolve. "I'll take care of him," she said firmly. Dr. Hayes looked at her, measuring her determination. Finally, he nodded. "Lead patience, love, and time. But I think he has a good chance with you." That night, Emily brought the puppy home. She made a little bed out of blankets beside her couch and set a bowl of water nearby. At first, the puppy was too timid to move. He curled into the blankets, whimpering softly in his sleep. Emily stayed up most of the night, watching over him. Every time he stirred or cried, she reached out, stroking his fur gently and whispering reassurance. By morning, when the first light streamed through her curtains, she had already given him a name, Sunny, because even in his broken state, he had wagged his tail when he first saw the world again. That flicker of hope reminded her of sunlight breaking through clouds. The days that followed were not easy. Sunny was wary, frightened of sudden movements or loud sounds. When Emily tried to walk too quickly toward him, he would cower, pressing himself into corners as if bracing for punishment. Her heart broke every time, but she never lost patience. She fed him small meals throughout the day, coaxing him to eat. She sat on the floor with him, never forcing him to come closer, just waiting until he chose to crawl into her lap. When he did, she felt his tiny heartbeat racing against her chest, and she would whisper, "It's okay, baby. You're safe." Every evening, she took him into her garden. At first, Sunny just sat in the grass, blinking at the open sky, unsure of what to do. Then one evening, as fireflies danced in the twilight, he stumbled forward on shaky legs and began to explore. "Ah la 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 la." Emily laughed through her tears. Each step Sunny took felt like a victory. Within weeks, his coat grew shinier, his body stronger. His eyes, once swollen and raw, now sparkled with a curiosity that only puppies have. He followed Emily from room to room, wagging his tail with joy whenever she called his name. Every evening, about 2 months after she first found him, Emily brought Sunny to the park. She was nervous. He had been through so much, and the world could be overwhelming. But she also knew he needed to experience life beyond her home. At first, Sunny clung close to her legs. Children played nearby, their laughter echoing, and Sunny flinched. But then a little girl knelt down a few feet away, holding out her hand gently. Sunny hesitated. His ears twitched, and he looked up at Emily. She gave him an encouraging nod. Slowly, Sunny padded forward. His nose twitched as he sniffed the girl's fingers. Then, with a sudden burst of puppy courage, he licked her hand. The girl giggled. Sunny wagged his tail furiously, as if realizing in that moment that the world could be kind. Emily's throat tightened. She had never felt prouder. From then on, Sunny bloomed. He loved walks, car rides, and naps on the couch. He carried toys around the house and greeted Emily every morning with excited jumps and happy yelps. But most of all, he never stopped watching her with those warm, trusting eyes, if he knew she had given him a second chance. Months passed, and Emily could hardly recognize the fragile, broken puppy she had once found. Sunny was growing into a strong, beautiful golden retriever, his fur like spun gold, his spirit shining brighter with each passing day. But in truth, Sunny had rescued Emily just as much as she had rescued him. She had been lonely before, her days filled with work, her evenings with silence, but Sunny filled her home with laughter and love. He reminded her to slow down, to find joy in simple moments. A walk at sunset, a game of fetch, a quiet cuddle on the couch. One night, as Sunny lay curled against her feet, Emily whispered, "You're my miracle, Sunny," lifted his head, tail thumping lazily, and pressed his nose into her hand. Emily never found out who had chained Sunny, or why. Some questions have no answers. But she knew this. Cruelty had almost destroyed him, yet love had restored him. And in Sunny's resilience, Emily found hope for herself and for the world. The scars of his early suffering remained faintly visible on his neck, but they no longer defined him. Instead, they told a story of survival, of kindness, and of the unbreakable bond between a woman and her dog. Years later, Emily and Sunny became a familiar sight in their town. She often volunteered at the local animal shelter, sharing her story to inspire others to adopt and protect animals in need. Children loved hearing about Sunny, the puppy who had once been blindfolded and chained, but had grown into a gentle, loyal friend. And Sunny, always by Emily's side, seemed to know that his story carried weight. He greeted strangers with wagging tails and kind eyes, spreading the same love that had saved him. For Emily, the lesson was eternal. Sometimes the most broken souls, and shown compassion, return more love than you could ever imagine. And for Sunny, the lesson was simple. He had found his forever home, and in it, he was safe, cherished, and free.